What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another TSW2 video. Today I'm going to be starting a new series called the Livery Showcase, where I go through some of the liveries I've created for some of the trains within the game, and I take a drive with them and show them off. I really wanted to show off some of the liveries I made for some of the trains in the game, especially this livery. In the first video, we're going to be starting off with the SEPTA ACS-64 on Amtrak Boston to Providence. So we're going to set the train up and we're going to get a good look around of the train, and we're going to take this train from Providence to Boston South Station. Before we get into it, I'm going to ask all of you to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and if you'd like to support me even further, consider becoming a channel member with a link in the description below. Let's get into it. So we're in the cab now. Let's set up the train, shall we? I haven't driven this in a while, so this might take a little while to set up. I think we need our ditch lights, regular headlights, dim, that's good. Let's set up our HEP. So this livery overall took me about a good, I want to say 6 hours to make. I know it sounds like a long time, but it took a long time to get like the reference to build the livery, and basically to get everything lined up and straightened out properly. It is kind of difficult to work with the game's current livery designer. The game doesn't have the best livery designer functionality right now, but everything should be set up. Close the doors and we should begin the train moving here. Hopefully I did everything correctly. Let's get this display set up. Which one was it? Maybe it was this one? Yep, it was this one. Okay. Oh, what's going on here? Did I set the brake mode incorrectly? Passenger. There we go. Again, I haven't operated this train since basically the release of NEC, so I'm still gonna be a little bit rusty with it, but let's get moving. Alright, here we go. Let's get the desk lights set up here. I'd like to turn the desk lights on, give the cab a little more ability to see. But yeah, this is the livery right here. See, we got the SEPTA logo right here. I tried my best to recreate it. It was very difficult getting this straightened out properly, especially because of the 300 layer limit in the livery designer. That really messes with a lot of my plans for liveries and what I want to do with them. But yeah, I did try my best to get the livery done properly. I even got the unit number. Originally, I had multiple unit numbers: 903, 906, and 909, I believe. But with this new recent update that introduced the London commuter, my alternate liveries were deleted, surprisingly, and that's a bit of a bummer. So we're just rocking with 903 here. See, we got the SEPTA logo here in the back, and we should have it in the front as well. This up here, I've learned that this doesn't work. The actual unit number in the livery itself on the train doesn't work for some reason. I'm not sure why. But yeah, let's start accelerating up. Our next station will be Route 128. We got a ways to go for that. Now you may be wondering, actually let's get back out here. You may be wondering what that car is back there. And if we take a trip towards the back of the train, I'm going to show you what this is, right? So this right here, you may be wondering why it is a blank car, and it's because I haven't deleted this livery. Now, I did attempt to make SEPTA coaches based on their, I believe, I don't know what coaches they use with the ACS-64 they run down there in Philadelphia, or Pennsylvania, I mean. However, I did attempt to make a SEPTA coach. I ended up deleting the livery, and I forgot to delete this blank one. But yeah, I attempted to put like the SEPTA logo on it and the red and blue stripes along the side. But ultimately it failed, and I came to the realization that it just wasn't going to work properly because the way the game substitutes in liveries, right? It'll have some of the train in my livery and then some of the train in the regular Amtrak livery, and I wouldn't want to run a mixed consist with SEPTA coaches and then some Amtrak coaches. But yeah, that's the livery. Nothing else is really changed with the train. It's just the livery on the ACS-64, but it did take me a while to make, and I just wanted to show it off a bit. Again, we have the right side now. Now, I didn't have enough layers to get any of like the extra information or anything done down here. If DTG gave more layers, like sometime in the future, I'd definitely go back and fix this. But unfortunately, we don't have the extra layers, so I wasn't able to put that in at the bottom. But yeah, I'm thinking of going, doing a lot more of this for different trains in the game. Currently, I'm working on a GWR livery for the class 387 on London to Brighton, or Brighton Main Line, London commuter. And that's going along pretty nicely. I have the first part set up, the first car setup so far. And I hope to have that done by the end of today. I'm recording this the day before it comes out on Saturday the 9th. But I hope to have that livery done by the end of today, and hopefully if this video does well, I can continue making more liveries in the future and showing them off, especially that GWR livery, because I feel like that do well. That would be a nice livery to show off. I attempted to make a Thameslink livery for the class 387, however, it did get deleted. There's a couple more issues that were added with the livery designer in the newest update, and it's kind of unfortunate because I worked a very long time on that livery, and ended up getting deleted because I tried to copy the livery onto another train. Basically, you're able to, in the livery designer, copy the livery and create an identical train, and that's what I did with this unit, the SEPTA train. I copied it and just made different unit numbers. So it's basically the same livery, just different unit numbers, so each train you pass by doesn't have the same one on it, because that can get a bit frustrating. This is cool. I can see the new catenary poles here. But back to what I was saying. It is a bit unfortunate, but I plan to go back in the near future and attempt to recreate my Thameslink livery. Hopefully they do get all of that sorted out right now, but I've found it's not like a real solution, but it is a better way to back up the livery. I'm on PlayStation and I have PS Plus, so I just upload the save game file to the cloud, and if it does get corrupted at some point, I can just re-download the old save file. So it's not like a fix or anything, but it's a good way to avoid just permanently losing the livery, you know. But we do have a ways to go to Route 128. I really haven't driven this in a while. Very interesting. I like that we are able to finally drive Amtrak again in the game. I've mentioned this the first time I played Boston Providence on this channel, but you know, it's just nice to have this operator back in the game, you know. Even though it's not like the original NEC route, we're in a different part and we don't have the Acela or the Velia, it is still nice to operate at least one Amtrak train, and I hope more routes like this come to the game in the future, possibly the P42, P32. I'd love to see a New Haven to New York Penn and New York Grand Central route consisting of Amtrak and Metro North Railroad. And maybe in the future when the MTA gets East Side access, or Penn Station access, I mean, fully built, we can even drive the Metro North trains down to Penn Station and arrive, I believe, I'm not sure which platforms they're going to enter on. I assume it's going to be the Amtrak and LIRR platforms, but I could be mistaken. But it would be cool to see a route like that in the future in TSW. I just hope that, you know, with Rush Hour now fully being out, we do get more American routes in the game, you know. Just more routes that have this type of rush hour feel where you're getting a whole bunch of train traffic, a whole bunch of passengers and stuff. I feel like we need more of that in the game, because a lot of these routes in the game are just like real suburban routes that aren't really commuter oriented and focused. You know, you're not really getting that hustle and bustle of having to accelerate, decelerate, stop, accelerate, decelerate, stop, you know, over and over again within a short period of time. You're not really getting that with a lot of routes in the game. It's a lot of just countryside running and not really like intercity or inner city metro style running. So hopefully we do get some of that in the future. I think there's more of a possibility now, being that we do have these rush hour focused routes, but who knows with DTG. But the same thing can be could be said for having more American routes in the game. You know, it'd be nice to just be able to operate more American trains, not in, you know, excluding freight trains, because it seems like DTG has a focus on freight routes when it comes down to North America, and that's pretty sad, because whilst North America doesn't have the best rail system in the world or whatever, we do have some notable rail systems that should be featured and should be showcased, you know, within the game. One of those being, you know, the full Northeast Corridor. I like to see the southern part of the Northeast Corridor between New York and Pennsylvania, and possibly even all the way down to Washington, D.C. Maybe not New York to Washington, D.C., maybe something like Baltimore to D.C. or Philadelphia to D.C., but something else in America would be well appreciated, you know. We have a whole bunch of metro systems like BART. The LA Metro is something they could look into for maybe a metro tram type of route. We have Brightline down there in Florida. Got a nice F40, I believe. But you have Brightline down there in Florida with the Siemens Charger units, the SC44s, I believe. You know, there's a lot to explore when it comes down to American Rail, not just freight. And I feel like with the way DTG have been just doing freight routes for America, I feel like that's kind of like pushing people away from really requesting American routes or just enjoying them in general or wanting to pick them up, being that they've already been, their expectations for American routes have already kind of been spoiled, being that we've only gotten one type of American route for so long, and a lot of them have been mediocre with not good scenery, not good sounds, you know. So it seems like people are just expecting that to be the same for all American routes, and that's probably not the case, you know. So hopefully we could get some more of those in the future. There's definitely a possibility. But then again, you see on the roadmap, there's 2 more American freight routes, which is sad. I'm pretty sure they will be good freight routes, you know. It's actually 2 freight routes that I'm interested in myself, and as some of you might know, I'm not interested in freight whatsoever. I really don't care at all for freight, whether it be America, Germany, or outer space. I really don't care. But these 2 routes look pretty interesting, especially Horseshoe Curve, which I believe sees some Amtrak service. Unfortunately, with the P42s and not the ACS-64, which we have in game, but it would be nice to see that represented in some capacity along that route. Maybe if we get a new route in the game that includes the P42 or the P32, which are the 2 diesel Amtrak trains, you know, maybe we could see those running AI services along Horseshoe Curve. But Horseshoe Curve is one of the most famous freight lines or freight places for freight in America, because if you don't know, Horseshoe Curve is literally a horseshoe curve, but it's more of a U-shaped curve where freight trains go around, and after they go around the curve, the operator is able to see the back of their own train, because usually the freight trains are so long that once you go around the curve, if you just look to your left, you're able to see the end of your train starting to come around the curve. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, I think that's gonna offer a different type of like scenery for that route. But it is only, I believe, like 30 to 50 miles south of Sand Patch Grade. So we're getting another freight route in the same area, which is a bit questionable. but we'll just have to see how it looks when it comes out. I believe it's being developed by Skyhook, so we'll get to see how they work with in another American freight route. Talking about Skyhook, are you guys excited for the BR-187 that should be coming out this Thursday? I wouldn't say I'm excited myself for it. It is coming out the same day as the 38 stock, which my expectations weren't high for the 38 stock, but watching the stream, they've gotten even lower, being that the sounds are just... what's the word for it? I guess the only thing I could look for right now is horrible. The sounds, Rivet sounds need drastic improvement, you know, and that's why I'm glad that they are enlisting the help of Armstrong Powerhouse for the sounds on Class 150 or West Cornwall local, because they definitely need help. One thing I really do hope to see is the Acela or Avelia. Even though the Avelia has a low possibility of being featured on this route in the future, one thing I would like to see is the Acela at least on this route, you know, because the Acela is able to go the full top speed of this route, which I believe is 150 miles per hour, and the Avelia is even capable, I believe, of over 200 miles per hour. But the Acela is able to do 150, which is the top speed of this route. And it'd just be nice to finally run at that speed, you know, on an American route, because we're only able to run like basically high speed with 125, but it would be so much better to operate the full line speed, you know, and to see the new train in the game, you know, just to be able to see the Acela and be able to operate it and experience its different controls. I think that would be a nice new sight for players. I just wonder where DTG is gonna go with these with the routes in the future, you know, or what they're going to be creating. We know they're working on one route, like themselves, not just third-party developers, but we know they're working on one route. I believe what it was called, I forgot what it was called, but it is another American route, American freight route. But I do remember them mentioning that there was supposed to be a German route on a roadmap a while back, and I'm wondering what that would be. You know, I'm pretty interested in seeing another German route in the game. Being that I didn't really fall in love with Riesa to Dresden, it wasn't the best route in the game to me. I'm still sticking with Hauptstadt Munich to Augsburg being my favorite German route in the game, being that it just has so many different types of services. Even though I'm not able to play the layered services, I still have a lot to experience with the S-Bahn and ICE services. And it's just cool operating an S-Bahn service, getting to stop like München, not München, Myzak, I believe, and just seeing an ICE whiz by, you know, that's a cool sight. But I'm very interested in seeing where they go with German routes in the future. I feel like they haven't really tapped into the realm of German metro routes, you know. I'm not saying like a U-Bahn route, even though that would be appreciated. Preferably the Berlin U-Bahn, maybe the U2, U8 lines, or the U5. But more S-Bahn, but more, to be specific, more electric multiple unit S-Bahn services or S-Bahn routes, you know. I really love operating the BR-423, and the 422 wasn't too bad on Rhein-Ruhr-Osten and Hauptstadt Rhein-Ruhr. So I'd love to see another German electric multiple unit, not electric diesel, not electric locomotive, but electric multiple unit, you know, something like the BR-474, 472, even though I wouldn't prefer to have the 472 in game, or the 490, or something like the 481, 483, you know, something like that. I'd love to see for another German route in the game. Berlin S-Bahn preferably, but you know, something, we have the other S-Bahn services like the Rhine-Main S-Bahn, You have the Frankfurt. No, that would be the Rhine-Main. They could explore a little bit more of the clone S-Bahn, the Rhine-Ruhr S-Bahn. There's a lot more that they can experiment with making a new route on. But we are being slowed down to, seems, 40 miles per hour right now, which I assume means there is a red signal ahead of us, but knowing how the signaling works on this route is probably nothing. Oh, down to 30 now. This makes me really wonder if there's a red signal ahead of us now. It says it's an approach medium, so I assume it's nothing too big. Does have a yellow over green aspect, which is a cautionary aspect. Yeah, looking at the signal, it's a yellow over red coming into the station. I believe this is Canton Junction right here, actually. Yeah, it's Canton Junction. I can tell by the way the ramps are here. It would be nice to get a shot of this train going through Canton Junction, actually. Yeah, that's a nice shot. Oh, I didn't even turn the HUD off. Oh. I feel stupid for that. Now we got an approach signal. So we are consistently being slowed down here. Seems like the next signal point is right up here. Interested in seeing what the next signal is. Seems like it's still an approach signal. So I guess we're just gonna hold here at 30. I'm gonna attempt to control the train with the dynamic brakes. Seems like it's working pretty well. Might add a little more braking force. One thing I do enjoy operating is definitely the ACS-64. You know, we don't have too many services with the ACS-64, and we're only able to operate really like through 4 stations with it. It is still a nice train and a fun train to operate. I really did like it on New York to New Rochelle in the original NEC route. You know, as bad as that route was, the ACS-64 was a fun train to drive, and I would love to have that route back in the game. I did mention the New York to New Haven route. You know, you do go through New Rochelle along that route, so we would kind of be seeing the OG NEC if we were given that. And that's definitely something I would love to see. But on that route, I would also love to see like be able to experience the Metro North Railroad going through Harlem on the elevated tracks. I believe it goes through Harlem from, I want to say 128th Street down to, I know it's past 103rd. I think down to like 100th Street. I remember walking down there a couple weeks ago. And the tracks go through the tunnel around 99th Street or something like that. But it will be cool to experience something like that in the game, you know, going through the real dense urban area in one of those commuter trains like the M8 or the M7A. And here we are slowing down even more. It's a restrict signal now. We are late to Route 128, which is interesting why I'm still being slowed down. Proceed at restricted speed. So we are still being restricted, even if I do try to contact the dispatcher. So I guess we just gotta deal with this. Just gives more time to stare at the livery. Oh, this is nice. And the tracks are kind of canted here. Yeah, that's nice. Hold up. Very interesting. I'm pretty sure fences don't float like that in real life, but I assume they've developed new fence technology which allows them to float, allowing all the cows to get out. So I assume with the next signal, it should be a red. That's my prediction for the next signal. But then again, if it was a red, I'm assuming the ATC would have told us to just stop at this point. I'm gonna be upset if the next signal is just a regular cautionary aspect. But from this distance, it does look like a red signal. I'm putting in some minimum reduction now. Yeah, that is a red signal. It says proceed at restricted speed. It makes me want to go past the signal, but knowing TSW, I'm not sure. I'm gonna still stop at the signal. Yep, it popped up on the ATC again. I'm gonna still stop at the signal and attempt to see if we can get a call by. We are running 5 minutes late, unfortunately. Blame that on TSW. But it's not all that unusual for Amtrak. Yep, proceed at restricted speed, so we are given permission to call by the signal. Let's get the bell on. Alright, we can turn the bell off. I really do wish that DTG was able to model the cruise control on this train. It would have made it so much easier to just maintain that 20 speed limit. Got some CSX freight cars here. Pretty nice. I really do like the improvements with the traction motor noise on the ACS-64. They did a really good job at improving it from how it sounded on the original NEC route. So we are approaching Route 128 now. I assume they want us to stop at the end of the platform, just from experience stopping here. Usually they want you to stop at the end of the platform here, especially with the Amtrak trains, since we are hauling around a longer consist. I believe we have 7 to 9 cars behind us, whereas the MBTA trains are usually 6 cars, I believe, including the F40PH, of course. I wonder if we're holding up anything behind us. Doesn't seem like we are. Yeah. Alright. So here we are coming into Route 128, almost 10 minutes late. Sorry, passengers. It's not my fault. I blame it on the birds. It was the birds. It's never my fault. Best train operator. No write-ups, no spads at all. Alright, there we go. Unlock the doors. Really disappointed in them for using these LIRR signs, but I do understand why they had to do it. Just hope that they get that fixed in the future. I wonder if that's a collectible down there. That looks like a collectible. It's misleading. Ah, look at that. Train just looks so nice. Hopefully one day we can actually get a SEPTA DLC, whether it be like the subway Market Frankfurt line or the Trenton line or whatever, or it's something that uses the SES-64. I'd love to get a SEPTA route in the future. One thing I wonder is, are those like mirrors, reflective mirrors? Those what those supposed to be? I assume that's for like the operator, making sure nothing's happening. Or in the back of the train? I'm not too sure. Because I assume this train doesn't have security cameras. Trash is an issue. Please take your trash with you and be part of the solution. Your help will make this station cleaner and greener. Bruh. What is going on with the pink pants here? Jesus. Guess the stores had one too many pink spandex. Look, even up there. Jesus. Very interesting. Alright, let's get back in the train before we're even later than we should be. There we go. You know, I haven't actually tried to throw this train just straight into full power from the start, but I want to see how it works. I've always been kind of like halted by wheel slip and all of that, so I'm very interested. Seems like the train gets up to speed relatively quickly for a locomotive like this. And we definitely need the extra acceleration and speed right now, being that we're already late for Boston Back Bay and we just left the last station, so that is not good. I'm sure if we just speed, you know, is that a security camera? That just caught my attention. Maybe this screen? Yeah, it's probably this screen. We need more of these screens to be operational in the cab, even if it doesn't, like, even if it's not fully functional, I just still want to at least see it, you know? Like what they do in the German trains, you know, you still have the timetable off to the right here. It's just not operational. And they did say they want to get that operational sometime in the future. Hopefully they do. There's a lot of things that TSW needs to do to really become a realistic and, you know, immersive train simulator. One of the things that they really need to master is sounds. I need more track noise. There can never be enough track noise, except for when there's too much track noise. Just need more. And we need to get rid of motion blur because that is not, that's just bad, to put it simply. I wonder what's under here. If this can even be opened. It might be a clipboard holder, actually, or like a sheet for the driver's timetable. I wonder if this is what that is. We do seem like we're gonna make up a little bit of time coming up to Boston Back Bay, so shouldn't be too bad. There will be a bit of a delay though. Seems like these rush hour routes were like designed to allow you to be late. It seems that way on a lot of these rush hour routes, you know. Boston Sprinter, on some scenarios you'll be late, you know. I was 20 minutes late coming into Boston South Station on one of the scenarios. I believe it's one of the scenarios where you go around the Boston South Loop, and I was 20 minutes late and they gave me a gold medal, which would not normally happen. I remember on Reset to Dresden, I believe I was 5 to 10 minutes late coming into Dresden, and they gave me a gold medal. And on Bryan Mainline, even though I haven't played too many services, I think I've played maybe 3 or 4 now. I've played a couple of scenarios, and the scenarios and services are pretty fun on the Bryan Mainline. You know, I like that the timetable was handcrafted manually from scratch, unlike this one. It's such a great route, you know. I'm not sure if I'll make a review on it. I want to, but I'm kind of like moving away a bit from like reviews. I don't know. It's something about making reviews that they just don't feel like they're top notch. Like, I really enjoyed making the Southeastern High Speed review, because I was really able to like speak my thoughts and talk about the route in a certain way. But these rush hour routes, I don't know. I haven't really been feeling like making reviews for them, surprisingly at least. So here we are. That one to slow us down, to make us even later than we should be, because classic Amtrak. I love how it even shows a clear signal, yet we're being slowed down. Pretty idiotic, but okay. But the Bryan Mainline timetable is crafted so well. Earlier I operated a service from Reigate to London Victoria, and at Red Hill I got held at the station for about 10 minutes, and it felt so realistic, because the signal, it's not like just normally being stuck at like a faulty signal in TSW. It's like, it feels real, like you're a part of a real delay or a real timetable shift or whatever, you know. Stop at Red Hill, hold for 10 minutes, the signal finally turns green, you're able to go, you know. And then you're following cautionary and adverse aspects for the whole line, you know. It just feels so much better than a lot of the other routes in the game, and so much different and unique, you know, because a lot of the other routes, the timetables are spaced out enough to where you don't really get any yellow and red signals or anything like that, you know. It's pretty normal, basically. You don't get too much action, is what I'm trying to say, you know. But on Bryan Mainline, you get that type of action. On Reset to Dresden, you get that type of action as well, having to constantly slow down, pull off the throttle, and hold at a certain speed or whatever. And then you might be traveling too fast, get tripped up by a yellow signal, or a double yellow, then a single yellow, and then you have to slow down and kind of creep up to the red, hoping that it doesn't stay red, and hoping that it changes, you know. You gotta kind of like, I believe they called it ride the yellows but pause. I call it following the yellows for obvious reasons. But yeah, it's pretty fun to follow the yellows, you know. We need more of that, is what I'm trying to say. I really wanted to see a lot of that on the Bakerloo line, because I was looking forward with the Bakerloo line to like traveling along the line with a real harsh timetable, you know, realistic sounds and stuff, and doing like a back and forth along the whole line the whole day, um, and then sometimes get those delays that you would expect on the underground. But that never came across, you know, in my time playing the Bakerloo line, which it kind of just made it feel kind of boring, you know, and samey after a little while. I completed 20 services along the line, and then I was just gave up, you know. I was just like, yeah, this isn't what I expected from this route, you know. But something like HMA, even though on HMA without the layers you're not really getting tripped up too much, I did experience a couple of delays where I had to follow the yellows for a little bit with the 423. And it was pretty fun, you know, because you gotta manage your speed while also paying attention to the signals, you know. Hopefully we get more of that in the future. Hopefully there's updates to the previous timetables. You know, I'd love to see updates to timetables like LIRR, the Bakerloo, Hauptstadt Rhein-Ruhr is another one that I would love to see a timetable update with, and adding just so many more services, you know. But we need more that allows us to really experience the hustle and bustle of like rush hour action, or just being able to just experience those harsh timetables, you know, and constantly being tripped up all the time. We need more of that, and I'm happy it seems like DTG is moving in the right direction. I honestly wonder where they go with British routes in the future, you know. If they go to something more metro-like with London Underground, I mean Overground, or Underground, that would also be appreciated. Or give us something like that's up north in the UK, maybe in Scotland, with ScotRail, the 385, 380, 318. Maybe they could give us something around Eden, that's also in Scotland, not Edinburgh. What was the city that I made? I made a video on it. Not Liverpool. Merseyrail. No, maybe that was in Liverpool. Yeah, I think that's in Liverpool, because Liverpool Lime Street. I'm not completely sure. However, I'd love to see something like Merseyrail in the game, because it's not a harsh timetable, but it is a pretty frequent service. I believe they run like every 10 to 15 minutes or something like that, or the Tyne and Wear Metro as well. There's so much that they can explore with the commuter style routes in the UK that they haven't really tapped into yet, and hopefully they could do that. I have nothing against like going for northern UK routes, you know. I do suggest a lot of southern UK routes, like around the London area, and that's because that's what I'm most familiar with, you know. That's the thing I learned the most about, you know, southern UK, London area, the south around Brighton and stuff like that. That's what I learned when I was researching rail systems in the UK. I didn't really learn too much about the northern stuff, so I am pretty biased towards the southern stuff. But I have no issue with seeing like a northern type of route, you know, something around Leeds in the modern day with Northern Transpennine, the express version this time. The East Coast Main Line all the way up to Peterborough, something like that, you know. I'd even love to see like the northern trains in the game. And by northern, I mean the actual Govia brand that's similar to Thameslink that runs the 717s. I'd love to see that in the game. A nice northern route wouldn't go amiss. There's just a lot that they could explore in the UK with more busier types of routes. The West Coast Main Line would be well appreciated as well. And I've made a West Midland suggestion, and honestly, my West Midland suggestion could kind of be lumped into that West Coast Main Line thing, because once you get up to Birmingham, you get into West Midlands territory, and then you can see the 323 as seen in OG Train Sim. You could see the new, I believe they are using Aventuras now on West Midlands, the 730s or something like that. And I don't know. I've been searching for cab videos or cab pictures of that train, and I just can't find any. And I'm so interested on seeing what the train's cab will look like, because it looks like a Bombardier Electrostar, but it also looks a bit different. I'm just interested in seeing what the cab would look like. But I'd love to see those in TSW at some point, you know. There's a lot that they could explore that it feels like they haven't tapped into yet. Oh, but here we are at Back Bay. About 12 minutes late, unfortunately. Let's stop and get these doors open. And I've seen a map that I'm not gonna miss out on. Haha. We are here. Gotta go there. So close. But here we are, gonna take a look at the back of the train. I'm not gonna jump down there. I've made the mistake of jumping down here one too many times on the original NEC route, and I've got myself into a tricky situation before. Hold up. That quickly. That quickly that the sound just changes. I'm not even gonna. Sit down in the driver's seat. Being that we are late, I assume we're gonna have a clear path. There shouldn't be anything in front of us, right? That's how trains work, right? Totally. Right. I find this highly amusing that the doors are still open. Oh, never mind. So let's slowly load our passengers. As we also slowly roll back. There we go. And now we're on the final stretch of the route to Boston South. Finally. After 48 minutes. It took so long because of that unnecessary delay. Let's take a look at these though. Look at that. Hope to have that in the future in the game. Love to see some MBTA subway action. I've made a suggestion on that actually on the channel in the past. Suggest you go check that out. Gives a little bit of information on the MBTA subway with the red, blue, and orange lines, and kind of I talk about how they should be included in TSW, how they should be added. You know why? Because honestly, they are a pretty important part of the American transit system. You know, the American transit network, to put it simply. They are a pretty important part, you know, MBTA. Especially the subway, carrying over 500,000 passengers, I believe, each day around Boston. You know, it's a big part of the Boston transit space, you know, Boston commuter rail and subway, you know. And I'd love to see the subway system in the game. It's nothing as big as the London Underground or the New York City subway, or I don't even think it's as big as BART over there in San Francisco. It might have more stations, but I think BART gets used a bit more. It's nothing like that, but it's still an interesting system. I should have made the comparison to Chicago as well, because Chicago's L system is nothing to be messed around with. And that's another thing I'd like to see in the game, but I'm not sure how they'd handle being in the loop, you know, because the loop, I feel like it'd be so taxing on consoles to be in the loop. Especially with the elevator running, I'm not sure how they'd handle that, because elevator tracks have it's so different from other types of tracks. Like this type of track is ballast, track ballast, you know, whereas elevator tracks is on steel overpasses, basically steel viaducts and steel elevated structures, and it has a very, very different type of sound. And some of you from New York know what I'm talking about with the different types of sound between what you might hear on the LIRR and Metro North and what you might hear if you were traveling along the 1 or 6 lines. You know, there's a big difference. and Chicago shares that difference with their elevated trackage. So there's a couple of things that DTG would have to master in order to make a Chicago L route, you know, including the loop. But that's the one type of Chicago L route that I would like to see. I wouldn't really want to see anything else. The one line I would love to see that doesn't go through the loop is the blue line. It runs through the city tunnel, which that's not the official name, but it runs through that tunnel under the city. It includes a very interesting station. I forgot the names of the stations, but there's two stations that are technically connected via a long platform. So the train just basically stops at one station and then travels along the rest of the platform, and the next station is down the platform. It's really cool how they've done that. But I'd love to see something like that in the game. I really hope you guys enjoy my upcoming Brighton Mainline or Point of Interest video, because in the future, if that video does do well, I plan on making a similar type of video for other routes in the game, and I feel like this one might be next, honestly, followed by possibly LIRR, because that is in New York City, my home city. So of course I would want to make a video on that, but I'd probably do this route next, you know, talk about Boston South Station, the actual skyline of Boston. Just looking at it, I haven't taken the time to really look at this the way I am right now. I'd feel like I'd want to do this next. But here we are pulling into Boston South Station. I believe we're coming on platform number 8 right here. So we're going to be opening the doors to our left. Let's give them a nice horn sound right now. And let's see if we can get down the whole of the platform and see if we can get a nice front shot of the train pulling in. You know what, looking back on the car, it really looks weird being untextured. I really wish they included the realistic times for this route like they did with the Brighton Main Line. It'd make it so much better because you wouldn't have to deal with a lot of the issues we currently have to deal with the timetable, you know? But here we are. Let's get this nice front shot of it. Nice. Alright, shut up, Bell. Did I not unlock the doors? Oh. Alright, okay. That's interesting. Guess I'll just open it like that. Okay, open all doors. That would be really appreciated. Thank you very much. Let's get those doors closed. And there we go. We've made it to the last stop. Hopefully all of you enjoyed that livery showcase video of my SEPTA ACS-64. I put a lot of time into that livery. Took a very long time, 6 hours, like, geez. But hopefully you did enjoy it. If you did, hit the like button. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you'd like to support me even more, consider becoming a channel member with the link in the description below. Until next time, peace.